Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this video, I'm going to revisit some of the older video that I did, which is this matrix camera array setup. So in this case, I actually have like I think 32 cameras kind of going around the circle, and it's kind of like the matrix camera. For this one that I'm trying to do, I'm gonna have like a camera that's kind of covering almost every angle of an object. This was actually inspired also by video tutorial from scripting video for Blender that I watched the other day. So yeah, this is also a question asked at the Blender Stack Exchange. So I'll build something really quickly. Just have like Sybren head as our reference. So let's save this real quick. SV, let's call it icosphere camera, or camera cam every angle cam. That's clear. So that's Sybren head, and let's have a camera first of all. So a single camera. We need to make this camera kind of pointing to Sybren. And normally you can do this just simply by using constraint, and track to constraint is good. It's like the aim camera. We can track the camera to point at Sybren. By default, it looks something like this normally, and it's kind of wrong. But you can always turn on the axis of the object, of the camera object, and then you can now tell, okay, with this track to camera, you really need to point in the negative Z, and then the top part should be the Y axis. So the aim and the up axis should be correct. Okay, now we have a camera that's always pointing at Sybren, no matter what. And we kind of want to go around Sybren and have a lot of this camera. The nice thing about Blender is that you can, if you make a duplicate of objects with a constraint, this thing will always have the constraint already applied. So let's keep this guy. This guy is going to be the master. The master is called just camera, and the duplicate is going to be like camera.001, etc. So I will be using animation nodes in this case. It's going to be pretty simple. And for the point position of the camera, we're going to use icosphere. The default icosphere is fine. This is the icosphere, and this icosphere will be like turning it into just wire, so we can see what happened inside. And be careful with this guy. When you render the 3D scene later, you don't want the icosphere to be rendered, so turn it off. Now we are sure the icosphere won't be rendered. So we have this camera. This camera currently is it's not an active camera. I believe we just need to make sure it's an active camera like that. So it's normally have black triangle. Okay, now let's go to animation nodes and create instance object instancer, and just grab our master camera. We're gonna have a full copy and deep copy, and the number of camera dependent on this icosphere. So let's bring in our icosphere data. So object mesh data, get the icosphere, and let's have object transform output. It's going to be very, very simple and basics. So the vertex location or the point position of this icosphere goes into the instance, and it will right away, you get this get length. It gets the total number of the points of the icosphere, and this object is the camera, and we want to put it on every point of the icosphere. So now we already have it. All this camera is pointing into Sybren, and this is our icosphere. Let's make it just a little bit larger. The next thing we want to do, probably just to have some kind of mechanism inside animation node, so we can switch the camera very, very easily. It's a bit dark at the moment, so I'll probably make the backgrounds a bit brighter. Turn on world background and make this brighter. I think, oops. Okay, so you can see all the cameras ready for us to see. Let's actually have a Python console. And let's see what happens if we kind of switching the camera. Let's say we pick just any random camera that we just generate. And I'll save this real quick, first of all. And whenever we make a camera as a render camera, something will happen. See this command up here, bpy.context.scene.camera equal bpy.data_objects camera. So you simply pass in the object, the node's name into the camera, bpy.context.scene. So bpy.context.scene.camera equal just the camera name, the camera objects. It's actually that simple. Camera, but we have to make sure it is the camera that we want, so we can switch it this way. Okay, so that's a script. We're gonna grab it. Normally, if I'm using Python console, they tend to be disappear at some point, so I normally just copy it and paste it into a new text to ensure that it's gonna be saved. Okay, so just keep this for now. We're not gonna be using Python. Oh, actually, we're gonna use Python. We're gonna use a script node. So this is the this is gonna be the script. bpy.context and just bring in the camera. So render camera. There should be like a render camera somewhere. This is gonna be the variable for the camera. Let me turn on this thing and render cam. It's actually that simple. We just need to have like a script node. And this guy will give, we're gonna give some kind of input. The input is gonna be one of the camera. New input is gonna be objects, and objects can be anything, camera, light, or actually mesh objects. In this case, just the camera, one of this guy. Just pass this guy into the object later. So the script is gonna be a camera switcher, and we're gonna have this object, we call it render cam, and the script, let's just use it. Just name this camera switcher. This guy should be camera switcher.py, just to make it different. And then just load our script, camera switcher, and pass in our object from here to that guy. It doesn't work because this is a list and this is expecting only a single camera. So let's get our item. So it should be one of the lists, and list get, I think get item, get element. Okay, so that's the list and that's the element, one of the camera. And here you can see that by switching the index, we are switching the camera. And depending on how many objects we have, how many camera objects we actually duplicate, that's how many frames we're going to generate. So 42 frames, that means the whole thing is going to be like 42 frames only. We're going to render it out maybe just like a square, 1080 by 1080. So now should be pretty cool, pretty good. And this is covering all, mostly of the Sybren head. We can actually check it out real quick. So this is with our scene. This is the whole scenes. We can have one that's actually viewing from the camera, numpad 0. Now it's looking at the camera, and look at this. The active camera will change depending on the index number we give here. And if it's not close enough to Sybren, you can either change the camera position, or you can, change the camera focal length, or just make this icosphere a little bit smaller, and now you can see it is working for us. 42 frames covering Suzanne from every angle. And the next, if you want it also to make this a bit nicer, you can always use matcap, or if you are doing like some kind of better lighting, you can parent the light into the camera. I believe it will also be duplicated by animation nodes if you do that. So this should be actually enough, and I will try to render it out with alpha channel, and then we're gonna probably use it in the next live noding. But here, okay, the setup is pretty much done. So you can change the index. The index should be based on the frame number. Okay, now it's pretty much done. What I really like about animation nodes is that all this script and everything can be very expressive and very, very fast. If you have some kind of idea, you want to quickly create some kind of mechanism, don't be afraid to use this a little bit of scripting. You know, it's not actually that hard. Really, the logic is there. If you have some kind of logic, just write it down first, and then ask someone who knows Python or who knows coding or noding better, and that person very likely will help you. Just ask at Blender Stack Exchange. Normally, I hang around there as well sometimes. So yeah, this is I'll just keep it paste. So I think the setup is like this, very simple. Once again, we have icosphere mask, and then we are instancing, or no, we're actually cloning a camera for every point of the icosphere, and for each camera, it's going to be switching based because of this script. It's very, very simple, and you can now render it out. For every frame, it's going to switch the camera, and you can have this Suzanne from every angle. Okay, and then you can render it out. And if you have like billions or even trillions of Suzanne head, it's not gonna be slow. It's gonna be just a single sprite render. Okay. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.